Q&A 2. Why are people born disabled or with disabilities? We'll start with this. Look at this mushroom. Funny looking thing, eh? Never seen one like that before. Oh, I love the jungle so much. Every day I see something new I've never seen before. Better than any television. Once you've seen one show, you've seen them all. So walk and talk. So why are people born with disabilities? Well, I'll start with this story for you first. It's a very short story but profound, and it'll give some idea of how the soul works, why people, it's not being born with a disability but obtain disabilities. So there was once this man, very, very, very handsome man, who studied for 8 years to become an architect, and he became a well-accomplished architect. But he was a very materialistic man, and he had all the gadgets in his house. He had the 3 cars, nice cars, and because he was very handsome, women were flocking to him, and he couldn't hold those 2 horses back. He couldn't hold his mind in check, his spirit in check, and so he would fall for the women, and he would sleep with many women. He became a womanizer. So he was materialistic and a womanizer, and the soul's purpose could see the damage that this was having on him and the soul itself. The soul was thinking, well, if this man continues the way he's going with all of these different women, he's going to end up contracting a disease, or worse, he's going to be put into a situation that is going to shorten the soul's experience. So one day the man was watching television with his girlfriend at the time, and they were drinking wine, and he stood up to refill their glasses, and as he stood up, he instantly fell to the floor, and stuck on his face was a big smile. And his girlfriend jumped on top of him and was like laughing and saying, "Oh, stop playing around, because he had a big smile on his face, right? And he couldn't move. The man couldn't move. And the girl was like, "Oh, stop playing around. She thought he was joking, but he wasn't joking. He had, in one moment, 8 years studying to be an architect. I think he was an architect for around 2 years before this event occurred. And, you know, sometimes the 2 horses, the 2 hemispheres of the brain, 2 horses, the spirit doesn't listen. It engages in many addictions, sexual addictions, materialistic addictions, and it loses itself, and it doesn't listen to the driver. The 2 horses pulling the cart don't listen to the driver. They're too busy thinking of themselves as being the Almighty. And so, in one moment, sometimes the soul, the driver, has to pull back on them reins and make them horses listen. And that's what it did to this man. In one moment, he lost the whole use of his right hand side. He will never draw again. He will never draw again. He will walk with a limp for the rest of his days. And his right arm would have to be carried in his pocket. Completely useless. Dead. His right arm had become dead. So his soul had intervened. Because the soul knows everything, it knows that these two horses are going to pull this cart into real bad trouble, and the soul is not going to have its purpose, live out its experience. At least it realizes, okay, now is the time I have to strip this man of everything he has to make these horses listen. So then at least my experience, my soul experience, the driver's experience, can continue somewhat. And like I say, in one moment it reined those horses in, stripped him of his job, stripped him of his physical abilities, and even stripped him of his language. He had to relearn language. He was in a hospital being fed, having to be fed for a while before he slowly recovered. But had his soul not intervened, you see, the man went on, and after a few years he got stronger. He never got the use of his arm back. He'd always limp, as I say, and his brain would never function the way it did. He was a fantastic architect. I mean, a real attention to detail, perfectionist. And the soul doesn't care. The soul just wants to live. And anyone will know how much the soul wants to live if they've ever experienced life-threatening environments or experiences where the brain shuts down, the mind shuts down, the spirit shuts down because it can't cope with the experience. They call it shock, but it's not. It's just the brain, the computer goes boom. It powers down, and all that's left is a little spark inside wanting to live. And when the brain does shut down during those life-threatening experiences, the breathing's not regulated, and the heart rate is not regulated because the computer shut down, right? That's called a soulful experience. It's what most people that go to ashrams and sit in lotus chanting MEWE backwards are trying to obtain, and they spend years doing it. That's what PTSD is, to be fair. A lot of PTSD isn't. You don't need drugs to change that. You just need to understand what it is that you've experienced. So back to the story. So the man went on to remarry, to get a wife, and have two beautiful children. And those children are going to have children, and they've got an experience to live. So the soul made the sacrifice in those two horses in order for those two other beings to come into the world and to get its purpose. And to facilitate the purpose of two other souls. So that's how the soul works. So when it comes to there are people being born now without souls, right? They're just two horses and a cart, and eugenics and stuff like that. Most of the people involved with the eugenics programs are soulless, and that's why they have disabilities. But if the human has a soul and is born with a disability, the soul brings the body forward and the spirits forward, but with a disability, that's for a purpose. And the purpose is that disability is necessary in order to keep the person from going off of the track. If they were born with all of their abilities, physical functions, and they were born without a disability, then they may fall into trouble. The soul knows that it's going to fall into trouble, so it denies the body and the spirit at birth. And also you find the people with souls that are born with disabilities, the soul has interactions with others as well, the mother, the family, all of these things serves to provide people, the people around it, its immediate family. It's necessary for that person to have that disability, to be born with that disability, for its interactions with its close members, the members of its family and friends that it develops through its life. And without those disabilities, many things wouldn't happen as they have happened, and are actually a blessing and not a curse. I hope that makes sense. I hope that answers the question. The child being born with a disability has led the parents to certain stages, to certain circumstances and certain experiences that otherwise wouldn't have occurred. It's also led that soul itself into experiences and circumstances that otherwise wouldn't have occurred. And I hope that answers the question. You're a tank, aren't you, Bruce? Eh? You're a tank. Yes, you are. Yeah. And, go on in. Be blessed. Be blessed. Until next time.